So, you already know what my favorite Sonic game is. But it doesn't matter what I think, because we're looking for the best Sonic game, which really shouldn't be that hard because every Sonic game builds off the one that came before it. But what if we added more levels, more characters, and more collectibles? And now this is the perfect Sonic game, right? Even though it seems like the next big game should follow the same pattern, where you start with this stuff, add more, and now a double-decker game is a double-decker game, that's not what happens. Obviously, these are both Sonic games, but they aren't the same Sonic games. There are definitely similarities, but one game is played like this, and the other is played like this. If you're just adding more levels and more characters to Sonic 3, it's still going to be Sonic 3, just with more levels and more characters. It's still not Sonic Adventure, because they're entirely different games liked for entirely different reasons, and not because new content for one gameplay style would magically change it into a different one. Which means the perfect Sonic game is more than just taking something that worked here and throwing it in here, because this is disgusting. But both sides have been fighting for so long, most people forget there's been another option this entire time. Now we all know Sonic Adventure turned into this, which turned into this, and then into this. But for classic Sonic, if you didn't want all this, you might think it took 20 years to go from Sonic 3 to Sonic Mania. But the entire franchise is actually more complicated than just classic games versus modern games. Because not only are there lots of games somewhere in the middle, but also games entirely off the scale. Now we all know IGN is always going to be IGN, and Sonic fans are always going to be Sonic fans, but unless you want games to always be the same, change can be a good thing, whether you like the changes or not. Sonic has never been only one way or done only one thing. Now, I don't mean this in a Sonic is free like the wind kind of way, because most people that say this want Sonic to be only one way or do only one thing. Because if Sonic really were free like the wind, you wouldn't have a problem with him playing tennis with zombies or going to the Olympics. I'm not saying you gotta love every single game, but when other franchises have questionable spin-offs, go in weird directions, or release the same thing over and over again, people definitely get mad, but then they move on after the next thing comes out instead of bringing it up 15 years later when a new game is shown off. That's normally the whole point of having so many different types of games, so that if you don't like the new Paper Mario, you can just wait till the next Mario Golf. But with Sonic, it's a little more complicated, because the line between what counts as a spin-off changes depending on who you ask. Like, you can take this game that controls nothing like any other Sonic game, and literally takes place inside of a book with entirely separate characters from the ones we know. But, according to this one screenshot Twitter sends around completely out of context, this game is so good and too well written and totally super duper serious that it can't not be mainline. So if we're gonna give Sonic and the Black Knight the mainline pass, why don't we also give one to Sonic Riders? It's got serious moments, and it even got referenced in Frontiers.
I understood that reference.
Sure, Sonic Riders has different gameplay than Adventure, but so does this, and so does this. Which means mainline isn't just about gameplay style, but it also isn't just about the story either, because then this game should count. It directly follows all the Adventure storylines, other games directly follow this one, it has speed, it has platforming, and it even got put into Sonic X. And sure, it's still a brawler, but so is more than half of this game, and this part is still mainline. Every rule somebody could make up to describe a mainline game is going to backfire. And even if we put every possible qualifier together to get the most mainliney of mainline games, we get this, which isn't even a Sonic game. So it really feels like people are just saying this when they actually mean to say this. Which is actually the best thing you can say anyway, because when a word like this means something different for everybody, you can't use it to make a game for everybody. It's something extra you might look forward to, but not everybody has your tastes, and not every game even needs it to begin with. You're not going to find the best Sonic game if you keep restricting your search to only games approved by f***ing Reddit. Because if you actually open your eyes, changes that seem like they came out of nowhere make a lot more sense. Not only do these games lead into their own sequels, but without this, we wouldn't have had this. And without this, we wouldn't have had this. Even if all these games are very different, that doesn't mean their unique mechanics never came back, or that just because a game sucked, we should never try the same formula ever again.
Oh no! I have special eyes.
Okay, you caught me. Earlier in the video, I said Sonic 4 sucked because it was combining gameplay mechanics of very different games. But now I'm saying the exact opposite, that it's actually a good thing to reuse mechanics. Combining games works. Sonic Generations works. My big evil plan all along has been to make you play spin-offs so the price of good games go down.
Oh! Got me again!
So let's do it then. No more yapping, let's make the perfect Sonic game. Obviously, we gotta start with Sonic Generations and just add stuff until it's perfect. If we look at the lower review scores, we can actually see everything the game needs. IGN said there weren't enough boss battles. Joystick hated all the side character missions and how many stages were made from games that came after Sonic Adventure. The story is also way too kid-friendly. I know it's a game that kids are gonna play, but a birthday party? Really? We gotta make this darker. A lot darker. We also need way more vocal tracks. All of my favorite characters have to be here. I want to play as Shadow, and it's gotta be mainline, which is totally a real thing. Bake at 350 for 45 minutes or until crispy golden brown. Hold on a sec. Hello? What do you mean hurry up? It's cooking right now. Take it out! So, this is what we ended up with. But don't worry, this isn't a video about potential or ambition or that Sonic Forces is actually good. I'm just bringing it up because on paper, this game had everything Sonic fans have been asking for. But the difference between something like this and something like this is that this game was just checking the boxes to please as many people as possible. Because even if this stuff would be great on its own, not everybody wants it put together, and just removing what you don't like also might not work. Sometimes you get lucky and find a really cool combination of things that you really like, and now it's the greatest game of all time. For you. Because someone thought this combination was a good idea. But even if I hate something, or even if you hate something, it could still be somebody's favorite game.
Sonic 3D Blast.
Whether they're a speedrunner, a little kid, or the only person that knows this game even exists.